I tricked Copper Golems into sorting shulker boxes full of items. Hello there, Ray here. Now there's one problem with my Ray Golem Sorter here. This is the device I made the first day Golems came out on July 1st that uses Redstone in order to make these guys 53 times more efficient at sorting and storing items into different containers. And it is capable of sorting all 1,500 different items that are in the game, even unstackable items like your armor and tools. But what it struggles with is certain types of shulker boxes. So let's say you just went on an adventure and collected a bunch of random blocks, or maybe you finished up a project and you have a bunch of leftover stuff that you want to put into your storage system. In this case, it's not too difficult. You just place these over top of some hoppers, and then they would automatically pull the items out of the shulker boxes and put them into the copper chest, and then the golem would sort these items one by one. And this is the most efficient way to sort these type of shulker boxes because we don't know what exactly is inside of them. So everything has to get pulled out and sorted one by one by the copper golems. But what if you just came back from like a mining project and you happen to have a whole bunch of stone all in one shulker box? If you just place down the shulker box on the hopper here, it's going to take a long time to unload all of these blocks. And then the golem can only grab and sort 15 at a time, so that's going to take quite a while for this many items. But if we would just place the shulker box full of stone inside of the chest for him to sort, he's actually going to sort it with the other types of shulker boxes of the same type. So this is a normal shulker box, so he's going to put it in here, and he's going to ignore what's inside of it. And my redstone here will actually sort these away from everything else. So if you just put it in here, you'll see it will automatically pull it out, and it will store it in the chest down below. But this means regardless of what is actually inside of the shulker box, it's going to store them all in the same container. Now because the copper golem ignores what is actually on the item, such as extra stuff like this one being a sharpness, it only pays attention to the Minecraft name. This one's Minecraft:diamond_sword. So if this guy would pull this out, and if you check the first chest, even though we have a normal diamond sword in here, you'll see he will still put it inside. So it doesn't matter if you like rename your items or if they're weird variations of other items, or even if they're different types, like this is a tipped arrow and these are tipped arrows over here. You'll still put the tipped arrows together just because their Minecraft name are both tipped arrows, and ignores all the extra stuff related to custom names, enchantments, duration, or durability, which means they can't sort very specific things like the type of enchantment that is on an enchanted book. But the positive is you can have similar stuff being sorted into the chest without actually needing more of those items in the filter chest here. But luckily for us, Minecraft actually came in and changed it recently so that all shulker boxes are considered different items. So if we look at the default one, just called Minecraft:shulker_box, where all the color variations now have their own unique name. So this one's called cyan_shulker_box, which means that copper golem should sort all these away from each other. Let's go ahead and put them in here and we'll see him start sorting. So now that it's finished, we don't have any more of the shulker boxes in here. And if we check, we'll see that he actually sorted them out. So we got a shulker box there. This one is the bluer ones. We got some blue ones there. This is the black and white ones. We got the brown one there, greens. Then we always leave one chest at the end that's empty so that it won't break the copper golem, and we can also use this for overflow if the other ones fill up. So they all got sorted based off of their names, which can actually be helpful in us trying to solve the shulker box problem. So we can use this to our advantage if we're doing a big project and we put all the extra like stone and cobblestone into the purple shulker boxes. But then when it comes to something like grass or dirt, we keep those only in the brown shulker boxes. If we would put these into the system for the golem to sort, it's going to put the purple with the purple and the brown's going to go with the brown one. So as long as you use like one type of color for one type of thing, you can end up sorting the contents of the shulker box without having to take it all out and sort it one by one. This even makes more sense when it comes to farms. This is because each farm could have their own color of shulker boxes where all the items are packaged into the shulker boxes and then they are sent to your sorter. As long as you always use a certain color shulker box for a certain farm, this will be an easy way to keep all the items separate. But we can quickly run into a problem. That is because there's over 35 playerless farms, meaning farms that don't even need the player to be there in order to get you tons of items. Yet there's only a total of 17 unique types of color shulker boxes, meaning that every farm won't be able to have its own unique color of shulker box in order to make easy storage. Now we could double up on one color. Let's say we have a yellow shulker box. Instead of just putting like the twisting vines, we could also have like the weeping vines also use the yellow shulker box. And then both of them would end up in the same chest, which is bound to happen either way, because with the simple sorter here, we're only dividing all of the items into 10 different slots. Even though each of these slots might have multiple chests, all these chests could contain the same stuff. So you just have to hover over top of them in order to tell the difference between what's inside the shulker boxes. But like in our twisting and weeping vine example, they would both show up as being yellow shulker boxes, but when you hover over top of them, you can see there is different stuff inside of them. This does make a little bit more work because you have to actually look what's inside of each of the shulker boxes, rather than just knowing that whatever is inside of the shulker box is the exact item you're looking for. Now you could always divide out the individual items furthermore by using this system where you can divide them up so that every single chest has their very own item. You know what else has their very own thing? The like button. Only you can give out your like. Now the second problem we run into with these color coding shulker boxes is that every time you need to restock with the new shulker boxes for each of the farms, you need to come in and color them all, which is annoying, and make sure to get the right color to the right farm. So is there a way to use the default shulker boxes on all the farms yet have all the items being sorted separately? To do this, we have to trick the Copper Golem into thinking he's sorting an item when he's really also helping us sort an entire shulker box of that item. So I started out by first having a dispenser that puts down the shulker box over here, where there's a hopper underneath of it, and the hopper is going to pull out one of the items that are inside of it. Now this item that it pulls out is kind of like a sample. And what we'll do is we'll take that little sample and we'll pipe it around and we'll push it into this copper chest right here. And then after the sample piece is taken out, we're then going to break it off by using this piston here. And then it's going to get pushed over and picked up by this hopper over here, which is just going to store it in this dropper where it will wait until it gets further instructions. And then the Copper Golem will come over and look inside the chest and he'll see the item, he'll pick it up, and then he'll start going through each of these chests looking for the correct chest that has the stone blocks inside of it, which is this one way over here. So when the golem finds the correct chest, it's going to activate the filter to remove the extra items. But at the same time, I added in some extra redstone here, which is going to turn off this copper bulb. This is actually a T flip-flop, so the next time the Copper Golem goes to the very end, he's going to end up activating this dropper here, sending out that shulker box that was sitting there. So what's happening is that besides having these chests that the golem is putting items into, we also have a row of hoppers in the back. And this row is just dedicated to the shulker that has the one item taken out of it. Now by default, all these bottom hoppers are locked so that items cannot get pulled out of it. And the top row of hoppers are just pointing into each other. So when we shoot out the shulker box, it's going to keep going straight across until it finds a spot where one of these lower hoppers is unlocked. In which case the hopper underneath will actually pull out the item that is above it before it has time to move into the next hopper. So we can actually see this happening. The golem's gonna put in the item into that chest there, and we're not gonna send the hopper until he touches a pressure plate so that we know that he's back and ready to send it. And now the shulker box gets sent, and you'll see it end up right here in this slot here, and that's because this turned off, allowing it to slip down and go into the exact same storage as the items do. So this slot here not only contains the item that the golem put in here, which is the pumpkin seeds, but also any shulker box which also contain pumpkin seeds. And the T flip-flop system on the back will turn off, but then it'll turn back on again. So right now it's off, but when the shulker box comes back through the system, it's going to reset this, turning it back on again, which is going to once again lock this hopper so that if there happen to be a different item coming the next time, it won't end up going in the same spot. We just reached 100 million total views. Let's see if we can reach 1 million subscribers, so join in. So let's give it a go with a whole bunch of different items. We got redstone, some different types of food, a whole bunch of different things, and they're all in the same exact type of shulker box. So as he sorts out the shulker box, let's talk about the pros and cons of this. Well, the pro is that you can actually sort stuff within a shulker box without having to take it all out. But you do have to take out at least one item, and both of them do end up in the same chest, which is nice, but the system doesn't actually put the item back into the shulker box. So each of these you can see is missing one item. Now you could have a separate system that automatically puts it back in again, but that would make the system a little bit more complicated, and personally I don't think it makes a big difference. It could even be nice, that way you don't have to remove a whole shulker box if you just need a couple of them. But an opposite problem exists when it comes to shulker boxes in the big design here, and that is all the items come in as item forms, therefore they just pile up with a lot of items. And it would be nice if you could take these and have them all put into shulker boxes and then put back into this chest for you to access. Now this is technically possible, except there is 600 unique items, meaning you need 600 unique shulker box loaders, which would end up making this design way more complicated than it's actually made out to be. At that point, it'd probably be better to use a different type of design overall, as the whole point of having copper golems is to keep it a really slick and small design, yet still able to sort tons of different unique items. But getting back to our shulker box sorting copper golem, when it comes to this design, the benefit of using this type of sorter over a completely redstone version of it, which I did happen to make one of these machines 8 years ago, is that you don't need a single filter for every single item, but rather you can have one filter do up to 53 different items inside their shulker box. So you can have like all your stone stuff being put into the exact same chest, but still while inside their shulker box. And if there's a shulker box that is full of something that he doesn't see inside of these current storage, then he has this last row here, which is for unknown stuff, just in case you put in the wrong type of shulker box that contains a bunch of random stuff. But for the system to work, everything has to come into the system already packaged with only one type of item in each shulker box. If you would put in a mixed shulker box, then he's just going to take out the first item, and he just thinks that the rest of this is all going to be repeaters as well. Because of that reason, we have to think about where we can actually add this type of sorter in with our bigger types of sorters, or even if you're doing this type of sorter over here, where the items are being split into just groups rather than being split into individuals. Now you could have the very first golem come in here and sort out all the shulker boxes into one slot. And then from there, we could then move these shulker boxes into this system over here, where we already know that they're just shulker boxes, and then his job will be to split them based off of what is inside of them. So when you come to your storage system, you can either put in the shulker boxes that contain just one item directly into the chest, or if you have a shulker box that contains a bunch of random stuff, then just place it over top of the hopper and have it empty one by one. Now bundles work the same way, where if you're trying to sort the actual bundle item, they will sort based off of their colors, just like shulker boxes. So you just drop these into the chest, but if they have items inside of them, you get certain colored bundles have certain themed items, and those get all placed into a similar chest. Otherwise, you can just unload the items just by right-clicking and dropping them into the hoppers here, and then having them getting fed individually and sorted by the copper golem over time. But what if you just have a shulker box that you cram full of a bunch of stuff, and there's a lot of it, but even though it's mostly the same stuff, it's slightly different. It wouldn't sort very well for this shulker box sorter, and it also wouldn't sort very well in this type of storage system, because he's going to have to pull out all these items in groups of 15. And copper golems are not the fastest sorters, so when it comes to something like this, it's probably better to first pull the items out of the shulker box, and then run this through a typical item sorter, rather than run it through a copper golem. Now you wouldn't want to do this for every single item, otherwise you kind of lose the whole point of having a copper golem sorting. For whatever items you're going to get a lot of, but don't fit other types of categories. This is typically be stuff like stone, cobblestone, dirt, and that sort of things. So all the items would get pulled out and put down a hopper line, where the large bulk items would get pulled out like stone and dirt, and then everything else would get pushed into this chest here for the copper golem to sort into individual chests, where the final storage system is going to combine these different types of systems to work together as one. And depending on if you need systems and how you stack them is really going to come up to the way you play your Minecraft world. For early game, you just might want a copper golem in 10 chests for him to go back and forth and sort stuff into groups. And then like mid game, you might want to actually have more storage so that you can have the items getting pulled and stored in groups that are vertical. There's a lot more storage while still keeping the copper golem super efficient by having this layout. For endgame, you want to have a system that can actually sort out the majority of the items into individual chests. And maybe even at that point you want to have something where you can sort out stuff inside of shulker boxes. And if you're like beyond endgame, you might want to sort every single item in the game Minecraft. So instead of just having one of these, you might want to stack these on top of each other, with the most common items being up here. And then if it can't find anywhere to sort those, then it would drop the items down to the next storage system, where it would try to sort the next most common ones. And then another third one to get all 1,500 items sorted, so you can actually sort every single item in the game of Minecraft. But what do you think? And as always, thanks to my monthly supporters which keep these videos free, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!